Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Gospel Coalition Australia's Everyday Conversations, where we talk about life and faith during the COVID-19 epidemic. Today, we're going to be talking about the joys and challenges of motherhood at this time. And I'm joined by two of my friends today. One of them, Edwina, I met when we were probably about 13 or younger. And the other one, Wendy, I met when I was about 30. So they've got different perspectives to share. So we're just going to have a chat about motherhood at this time. My name's Harriet Connor, and I'm a mother to three boys who are 10, 8 and 5, and we have another baby on the way. My husband is an ordained Anglican minister working in police chaplaincy. I don't have a paid job outside the home, mainly focusing on the kids and home life and so on. And in my spare time, I do have a small ministry of writing and speaking to encourage other parents. So Edwina, Wendy, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, sure. I'm Edwina. I have 4 kids. My oldest is 7, and then I have a 5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old and a 6-month-old. My 5-year-old is the only boy in the bunch, so and I'm also married to a minister in Sydney, Anglican minister in Sydney. And I also don't work outside the home, but I'm pretty busy inside with that crowd, and involved in a few different things at my local church as well.
Great.
Hi, I'm Wendy. I'm married to Stephen, and we have 4 children. Almost forgot. No, 4. Yep, that's right. 3 boys who are 15, 13 and 8, and then a little girl who's 6.5, nearly 7. And I work full-time as the head of campus at St Philip's Christian College Dale Young Parents, which is a school for teenage, pregnant and parenting teens. And but we have from probably our youngest is about 15 to the oldest is 24. And so I'm currently at home. We're separated into teams and working half of the week at home and half at work. And I've got my 4 children who are homeschooling at the moment. My husband predominantly cares for them and his mum. And yeah, keeps the place running and ticking over. So that's me, basically.
Great. So do you guys want to start by sharing what you found to be the hardest things about mothering at this time?
I think for me, actually, one of the hardest things was the anticipation and being told, you know, oh, you're going to be at home all the time and homeschool, and not knowing how long it would go for. I'm someone who likes to get out of the house, so we probably would barely have a day when we're at home for the day. Because I like to, you know, catch up with friends, and I've got a few commitments at church, and yeah, so the prospect of it was very daunting, but in God's kindness, it hasn't been anywhere near as difficult as I thought it might have been.
Yeah, well, that uncertainty was really hard at the beginning, wasn't it? I like to plan ahead, and I found it really difficult not to be able to say what I'd be doing next week, or not to plan ahead as I normally do. How about you, Wendy?
Yeah, definitely. And I actually really struggled at the start. I mean, I felt the responsibility of my staff and my students as well. But it wasn't until someone identified that I was kind of going through grief in a way, because I'd find myself stressed or crying for no reason, like not severe or anything, but just having my moments. And when someone pointed out that, you know, your entire world has turned upside down, and so has your families, and so has your workplace and everything, then I realized, oh, that's what it is. And then once I allowed myself just to kind of feel that and acknowledge that, then things got much better after that. You know, I just kind of realized, oh, hang on, this is big. It's not a little thing. But yeah, that was probably the hardest bit at the start. And now just, yeah, like you say, that I think of the lack of freedom and the things that we just took for granted, that we could walk out our front door and do what we wanted to do, and we like to go places and visit people, and for that to become very small, it's certainly been a challenge.
Yeah, I've found it hard not to be able to hang out with other people. You know, go to the playground, something I used to do multiple times a week every week.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciated that too, because my kids got to play and I got to chat with other mums, and missing being at church with my church family. And we have growth groups on, which is our Bible studies on Zoom, but it's not quite the same as being.
That surprised me. I sort of, like, our boys were missing their friends, and I thought, okay, I'll organise a Zoom for them with their friends, but one of them ended up in tears afterwards because it just wasn't what he imagined. And I think, especially for boys at his age, spending time together isn't talking face to face. It's playing, it's doing. And so they sat there in front of a screen. Half of them were playing a computer game on the side, and he was trying to get their attention and have a conversation, but they just, I don't know if that's how 10-year-old boys predominantly relate. And so that kind of made things worse. He thought, oh, I'm finally going to connect with my friends, and it was just a disaster. So yeah, it's the Zoom thing's been difficult. You sort of think, oh yeah, we'll have a Zoom, but afterwards you realise that didn't quite hit the spot, did it?
And I would find myself really exhausted, and I tried to work out why. I don't know whether it's because you're obsessed looking at yourself, or you just don't have that extra level of you know, body language, or you know, all those different parts of communication. It's kind of very one-dimensional in some ways. So I found it tiring.
You're concentrating really hard, and the technology aspect as well. It is very tiring.
Yeah.
Sorry, got distracted there.
That's fine. I've bribed mine. So last night was a certain amazing TV show which I didn't let them watch, but they've done their schoolwork, so they've watched it today.
Oh, you're the TV. Well, I'm in the same room as our TV, so mine are hopefully playing with Lego and eating the lunch in a little lunchbox to get the lunchboxes out today.
Oh, fun.
What about yours, Edwina? What are they up to?
Yeah, they're on devices, but the problem is that devices don't always do what you want them to do.
No.
Oh gosh, it's true.
I've got built-in teenage boys who are very helpful with the little ones, which like I can't imagine having little ones at home. I think my kids are just that little bit older, and I can imagine the isolation and just not having those releases must be tough.
It's been quite nice, I think, having, like, I think people have said to me, oh man, 4 kids at home, that's really full on, but in some ways it's actually been quite good when we're trying to do schoolwork. So only my oldest is doing schoolwork, and so my 5-year-old and my 2.5-year-old actually entertain each other quite well on and off. But that has been a real blessing because my 7-year-old wants help with schoolwork, and so the other 2 will actually go and play a bit and give me a bit of time to help her. And the 6-month-old still sleeps multiple times in the day, so that helps as well.
It's hard to balance everybody, whereas we've got 2 at school and 1 not at school, and then 1 not at school just wants my attention all the time. If I don't give him the attention, he'll go and distract his brothers, so I'm constantly trying to keep him away from his brothers and focus on him, but then they need help at times as well. So we'll sit down to play a game and I'll get interrupted several times because one needs help and then the other needs help, and he's just getting very frustrated and whingy because I'm distracted all the time by helping with schoolwork, which is difficult.
And I find my patience is shorter as well because I'm trying to help, and then I want to get annoyed at the 2.5-year-old and the 5-year-old who want me to engage with them, and I'm like, oh no, that's not.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things. I thought that it would be a lot less stressful not having to do school or not having to take them to school and bring them home again. Often I think I blame my stress and short temper on all of that, on the hustle and bustle of school life, but realizing that when we don't have any of that, I still lose my patience quite regularly and get frustrated. And for me, that's one of the hardest things, just being confronted with my own shortcomings. Thankfully, children are very forgiving, and so is God. So just apologizing an awful lot, but also, I think when you get to that point when you're super stressed and you feel like you're going to yell, I think you need to pay attention to that and think, okay, well, this is a sign to me that maybe I need to rework things, or just go and take a breath, or go and have a cup of tea, or just reorganize things slightly. Yeah, that's hard when you can't go out or do your normal things. You don't get that break from the day to day. So how do you guys manage it when you feel your temper slipping, when you feel overwhelmed and stressed? Like, do you have any good strategies for that?
Well, I found working from home just has that extra layer, because like you said, the minute you're focused on something, like I've had 4 Zooms this morning, and I've already had I've had a child in each one, I'm fairly certain, which is fine. I even had one locked in my walk-in robe, like with my back against it, when I was on with someone important, and so I was like talking anyway. But I had to reflect yesterday, like Jesus is so patient with me and so forgiving of me, and I've just had to kind of reflect on that and remember that, and am I patient with my children like he's patient with me when I'm selfish or rude, and I had to remember that their entire world has turned upside down, and so there is gonna, I don't always, this is a new revelation. I'm up to that point I was pretty impatient, but I'm learning.
Yeah, I think I'm probably well, yes, I struggle with the patience thing, but I tend to be quite self-reliant, I think, when life is normal, because, you know, I can go and do things in my own strength, and don't necessarily pray as faithfully about things that I should be praying about. And so being at home and having all of those things like stripped away that I can do has made me really realize, or remind me of, how important it is to pray and to ask God to be doing the work, because I literally cannot do it. I'm not allowed to go and be with people or have the conversation I might like to have. And the same with my kids as well. Like, I'm reminded that I can't, in my own strength, I'm just always going to be impatient. And so I need to keep taking that moment to pray and ask God to help me to be kind, and to not expect of them something that I really don't live up to, even myself.
Yeah, I'm trying to help us all to be more prayerful. I don't really have the chance to sit down and have a focused, quiet time myself at the moment. I could probably work harder on that, but just trying to set prayers through our day together. Been using actually some set prayers, and one in the morning from the Book of Common Prayer, just to sort of set our minds on the day and ask God. It's a prayer that, you know, just thanks God for safety of the night, and ask God strength so that we don't fall into sin or run into any danger, and just commits the day to God. And I've found that quite helpful for all of us. I mean, I don't want to get superstitious about it, but I do feel like it helps our day, for us all to start in that mindset and just committing the day to the Lord, and being mindful of those two things, sin or danger. And obviously at this time we are worried about risks and dangers, just to ask every morning for that protection and that self-control as well. That helps you to keep yourself accountable later in the day, I guess. Yeah, so prayer, I think, has been important. I've tried to work that in. I was going to ask you guys if there's been any sort of unexpected blessings, and for me, one of them has been trying to just be more in charge of our time. And normally you feel like school actually sets your life agenda. School sets all the hours and the schedules, and even at the end of the school day you're still doing homework. And so I feel a lot of freedom to be able to set our day up a bit more around the things we value in our family, like prayer and conversation, reading the Bible and getting outside, doing chores together. All those things, I just felt, I was actually kind of excited at the beginning as well about the potential of this time, because during the school term I struggle a lot with, we don't have time for that, just feeling rushed all the time. Whereas now we've got that extra time to, we'll get outside is one thing, and for the boys to like help me cook the dinner, that kind of thing, that I think they're really important things, but often they get pushed out when the schedule's a bit jam-packed. So have you guys found any sort of positives, any blessings in disguise at this time?
Yeah, we've been getting outside a lot more too, going for walks, just to, you know, keep everyone's sanity a little bit. And I think that has afforded us lots of opportunities just to chat to random people, because everybody is like, oh, let's go for a walk. So we, people that we know, but also not necessarily people we know well, are happy to stop and have a bit of a chat on the way past, when in the past I feel like, people are always kind of going somewhere and they might just say hi and keep going. And even I would do that because there's somewhere you got to be. So it's been really nice to have that kind of community, but also just opportunity to connect with people that wouldn't normally connect with, and have conversations, with our neighbours, immediate neighbours, as well as people in the community. And hopefully, praying that there'll be opportunity that will lead to other kinds of good opportunities as well.
Yeah, very much. Any silver linings for you, Wendy?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's been a chance to reset, time again with the kids, and no distractions and no after school activities to rush them to or anything like that. We've done cooking and gardening and things like that. And I've been really surprised at the creativity of the young mums that I work with. They have been doing amazing things, like each day going for a walk and collecting a rock that they go home and paint. And so they've got like their kind of isolation footpath they're making out of these rocks, and getting boxes and making, and they've just, houses or whatever. And they've just been so creative and so resilient. And yeah, it's been this time of, and my teachers as well that I work with have been so creative with what they've got and what they have to work with. So that's been a real joy, and I've really enjoyed spending that extra time with kids and doing some baking. Like, I've done all the stereotype ISO things. I've baked bread. I made a knitted thing. Like, I just felt so proud of myself. But so there's definitely been some blessings in this hard time, and it's been good.
And what about how do you guys sort of trust God as a family in this time? And also, how do you sort of connect with your church? How do you feel a part of God's church at this time? And how have you been loving your neighbours? Maybe if you want to pick one of those things to share what that looks like for you guys at the moment.
Yeah, so our church, I actually go to a church at the same building the school is at, and a lot of the young parents go. And it's been amazing. So many more have jumped on to the church service that would attend in person. So they jump on the Facebook Live and they're engaged in conversations. They're asking for Bibles, and it's just been so exciting to see that. And then the church leaders delivered like Easter parcels to every young parent that we have. So that's kind of been really nice. And then those young parents have been doing things to serve each other. And to show kindness to each other, which has been really encouraging. So I guess that's third hand, but it's just been such a blessing to be part of that.
That's wonderful. We need to wrap up, but Edwina, do you want to just share a little bit of what that looks like for you to finish up?
I think for us, it really means just keeping on with the things that we were doing before, but in their new ways. So making sure that we make space for kids' church and church on Sunday mornings, and that we're making time as a family to read the Bible together, and that we're making effort to connect with our church family and our neighbours via all the different technologies that we have, and to keep praying for those people as well, I think.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for coming and chatting with me. It's been really good to hear your perspectives and all the things you've been doing and thinking about. So thanks so much for your time, and I hope that it's been encouraging for those listening as well.